everyone, it is your girl Absolute Alma. Welcome back with a whole new video. Today I'm going to be working on this Halloween themed demon girl, and she is going to be painted exclusively in gouache. So if you see, I have multiple palettes surrounding me. On the left is my Holbein design gouache palette, and then on the right is jelly gouache. I pretty much use these two interchangeably. I have found ways to make them work well with each other, so I pretty much use both. This moment in time, I am going through and doing basic washes to establish what color I'm looking for. I had very specific colors in mind in terms of this painting, but I don't really do thumbnail works before laying down color. I just go straight in with color and figure it out. But with gouaches, you can easily just layer on top of it and it takes care of any sort of color that you ended up not wanting to go with if you do the washes very lightly. So for this theme, this is for September's Patreon exclusive painting, and it was voted in that everyone wanted a demon girl, and within my eyes for this concept, I just thought of really bubbly, fun, Halloween-y colors. My main inspiration around this was the Halloween themed Hatsune Miku figure pieces. I just loved the fun purples and oranges, and just very warm autumn colors, but they're still very bubbly and playful in the way that we can see in like anime and such. I started out doing a pink background, but I realized it kind of pulled away from the focal point, given that a lot of the colors are going to be around the orange and purple and then obviously pinks in it. I thought I would go with a more darker blue, green fill for the background. This color has been sort of a repeating color within my works for backgrounds lately. I really like the contrast of it versus my usual pink backgrounds, which are fun. I like them, they're still fun, but just playing around a bit more with the jelly gouache colors has been really nice. Previously, I used the palette on the left it's like a limited color palette that I've been working on for the past couple of years. And now that it's complete, I've been wanting to add more colors into it, but wasn't sure entirely what I wanted. So I ended up investing in this jelly gouache that's to the right, just so I have access to other colors outside of the limited color palette. And it's been really fun trying to play around with all these colors and adding them in. Normally I stuck with very deliberate pastel shades for previous paintings, but I kind of gotten bored of it. So playing around with this jelly gouache has been really fun. For the background also, I have been playing with like I don't know how to explain it, like fantasy swirly vibes. A few of my previous paintings have very similar background themes, and it for some reason reminds me of Scooby-Doo. I'm not sure if it's the colors used, but it has this very like creepy aura, but not like it's super creepy in that sense. So for the background, I decided I wanted to do a more forest themed, similar to previous Patreon piece for August's concept theme, but I wanted to play around with it being more spooky, eerie. I added a little bit of like tree branches, though most of it gets covered up with the cloudy smoke that I'm working on currently. But I wanted her to be more of the focal point and very pulled forward from the background. So I used a lot of different contrasting colors for that to help, and I think it worked out really nice. I'm also creating a hue on her. I wanted her to be sort of glowing, and again, that helps bring the subject out a bit from the background too. But she's just kind of like interesting. Like I figured if you were just a random person walking through the forest and out of nowhere there's this creepy demon girl and she's just sitting on this pumpkin giggling obnoxiously and she's glowing in the middle of the night, like that's gonna be the first thing that you see and you're just like, what the heck is this lady doing out here? This is so random. But yeah, that's kind of the theme. I end up going through and working on the background quite a bit. The whole process of this, I use a lot of watercolor techniques for these washes, and I start out with very thin pigment and then eventually build that up into thicker, more vibrant pigment once I figure out the layout that I'm trying to achieve, just so I can go back and fix mistakes and such. It's really nice. I really love doing these swirly washes of a background, and I get a lot of people asking me if I'm using watercolor or whatnot, because it definitely looks like watercolor in terms of the technique, but it is all design gouache, which is essentially opaque watercolors, but it's design gouache. Now I start working on the bottom part of the painting, and I wanted it to be a bit more like she's in the forest, but not completely, because this will be all cut out and made into stickers anyways, so I wanted to keep it very easy for the lower half of the pumpkin to just kind of cut that out. But I did do a bit of like leaves and stuff. In the initial sketch, I had leaves falling from the sky even, but I felt like it took away too much in terms of trying to keep the concept very simple. So I stuck with just having leaves and grass on the bottom of the pumpkin and just using that to signify that it's autumn. For the pumpkin, okay, I love painting pumpkins so much. I've done a couple of paintings in the past around autumn time, and I feel like I've kind of gotten a drift with making fun shades for the pumpkin, but it's all washes. So my main colors that I use are obviously a really dark orange. I use a lighter orange and some pinks and purples, and I do a very soft sky blue for shadows, and then of course like some yellows for highlights. And I feel like that's perfect in terms of color scheme for the pumpkin. It makes me happy looking at it. It's just like, it's so trippy looking, the way they all just kind of like whoosh around in the water. And it's a fun process to paint a pumpkin because it's just a round object essentially, and you're just throwing a bunch of paint around. I believe I built up the pumpkin twice, so I did the first round, waited for that to dry completely, and then I went back and built up some more washes so that it's a bit less transparent. Here I'm working on the branches, and yeah, I realized after I did that I should have just painted them in brown, but it was too late at that point. So I did a tiny little bit of brown in the areas that it ended up not being covered up by like the cloudy smoke stuff. So with all of my gouache paintings, using a watercolor technique, it requires you to sit around a lot and wait for things to dry, otherwise it gets muddy. Of course, gouache is much more forgiving than watercolor, so there is some leeway with that, but for the most part it is a lot of sitting around and just waiting for things to dry before you go back and do layers. So I end up hopping around a lot in this piece, coming back to things and waiting for it to dry and then coming back, and yeah, it's kind of a lot. So I'm building back up the clouds and adding the branches a bit more in brown, and I ended up pretty much leaving it like that. I was gonna add leaves and stuff to the branches, but I didn't really want to get completely detailed with it. Plus it's supposed to represent nighttime, so at night everything's just kind of dark. You're not going to be able to see leaves and stuff except for like their silhouette. Now I am filling in her, and I was kind of going back and forth with what I wanted to do for her skin tone because I wanted her to look kind of different. I wanted to do more of like a monster but still cute anime girl, so I ended up doing like almost pale white skin. I'm laying down it's like a orange white-ish color, and then I go through and color it more in like a white to reestablish the colors since they had been overlapped, or the sketch is overlapped. Excuse me, I'm all over the place with my words today. And then I went through and did orange in her skin, so she's kind of like a pumpkin. Everywhere that would be normally like a blush would be orange. And that's as far as I got with the monster vibes. I wanted to do her green, but I felt like I've already done green characters before, and then it just kind of came to a point where I'm like, yeah, let's make her orange, because, you know, she's a demon pumpkin princess girl something. I really loved the sketch of her though. She took about 6 different sketches before I could really get to a point where I saw the direction that I wanted to go with her. Like, she just seems so simple, but for some reason I had the hardest time trying to figure out what I wanted. I knew she was going to be on a pumpkin because that's what was voted in. And I wanted her to be very playful and bouncy because those are the colors that I wanted to use. But all of my sketches ended up looking a bit too sensual and all that. And that wasn't the vibe that I was trying to achieve. So eventually I had her sitting in a pumpkin, though it kind of looks like she's on the outside. Either way is fine. Instead of sitting on top of it and then having her legs exposed. And then that way I can work on her face being bigger than trying to achieve a full body on this 6x9 sheet of paper. And then I went for more of a cartoony outfit because I wanted her to have more of like a magical girl feel, because she's very like youthful and fun. And I just envision her being kind of annoying at the same time too. Like those annoying side characters that are really bouncy and just obnoxious. Yeah, I was trying to go for that. But I ended up really liking her concept outfit overall. It's very fun. And I'm kind of bummed that I didn't get to do a full body outfit, just because I feel like the lower half would be really cute, especially with like oversized clown type boots. I wanted everything very pointy too, so the lower half of her body would have been really fun. Because I was thinking more of like gesture, anime girl, witchy theme, though trying to not do witches, because I have been doing a lot of witches. I'm very guilty of loving witch designs. Also, she originally was going to have like, what is that, a scythe? And then I was like, I wanted a wand, and that didn't work out. So then I was like, oh shoot, we'll just do a lollipop in her hand. But the lollipop was so big and it took up so much space and it just didn't look that good. And so I went for a bat themed wand. But then I remembered in Final Fantasy XIV, there's a mount that's an eyeball with wings. And I think I've seen this before in one of the older animes. Is it Monster Rancher? I think it's Monster Rancher. Has a character with a giant eyeball. I'm not sure if he has wings. I'll have to look at that again. But yeah, so I was like, okay, I'll draw this. And it ended up being so flipping adorable. Like, so cute. I feel like he's the star of the show. And I want to make this wand for my own Halloween outfit this year. So I might just end up doing that for like a Twitch stream, just for funsies. But I'm really freaking excited over this little ariman character that she's holding. So I'm working on her skin tone again, and as you can see, the oranges, they're really obnoxious, but I really like it. It's different from having like pinky blush. For her eyes, I wanted her to be very vampire-like, but I was having trouble with it just because the eyes were so small, so it wasn't like you could do a bunch of detail to make it look all cool. I'm a sucker for different colored eyes, but I felt like it just wasn't going to work out with how big her face is. Her face is about, what, the size of a quarter? So it wasn't a lot of room to play around with. So I ended up doing a neon pink iris and then blue around it, but I start tweaking with it a little bit more later on in the video, just to get it so she has a bit more characteristic to her, because the eyes felt kind of stale when I first layered the color down. So here I am working on the magical girl outfit. I've been slowly incorporating more clothes within my character's outfits, and it's been such a challenge. I'm not one to paint clothing. They're really complicated. I think the farthest that I've gone with outfits back then were just like swimsuit cyberpunk related clothing and then like heavy metal pieces on it. And it worked. It was good. But I've been moving a lot lately into like Gothic Lolita, Victorian era clothing. So they have a lot of like folded fabrics and all that. And it's been really challenging, but so fun to be able to play dress up with my characters. So I'm looking forward to kind of getting better at working on clothing. I want to eventually get into concept design and creating all sorts of different characters and really cool outfits and stuff, but it's a slow process of getting to that point. For now, I'm just gonna do as much as I can do with my skill set. So I was so conflicted with these gloves because originally I wanted them purple, but I felt like they blended into her chest area too much, and so I ended up doing more of like a beige, but then it ended up blending in too much with her skin. And I'm like, geez, this is not going the way I wanted it to. But I just left them just because it was a nice contrast to it. I really liked the way this collar turned out though. I kind of want one for myself. I went on Etsy trying to find a collar that looked kind of like that, and they're really hard to find. One day I told Beeps that I really wanted to get a sewing machine to try and start sewing my stuff, but that's a whole other hobby. I got too many hobbies at the moment and not enough money. to support those hobbies. I should just make this outfit for Halloween. Yeah. That would be kind of cute. So here I am. I'm just working on rebuilding up the colors after they dry. They're a bit grainy, so you do a couple layers and you build up that opaqueness, and then it looks really nice. Here I am just adding very subtle highlights and shadows for this chest area. Since it's mainly blocked off from her arm, there was really no need to go in and do crazy detail or anything. So I just did very basic highlights along the outer parts and then a soft shadow closer to her arm. It looks kind of janky, but when you zoom out of the painting, it's not the main part that's being looked at, so I feel like it's fine. Add a little bit of pink in there just for funsies. A little change of the, colors. YouTube videos, because it's been a while. I actually made a whole walkthrough of my gouache painting process from 2020, and it's all edited and ready to go. I just haven't posted it yet, so that will be posted probably after this, sometime after this painting. And it's pretty much the painting in real time, so it's a very, very long video. I'm not sure if anyone's interested in these long form videos, but I kind of like them more so than just 3-minute videos, 10-minute videos, just because there's a bit more substance to watch when I'm like packaging photos and painting myself and whatnot. So hopefully you guys feel the same. But that'll be posted up, and it kind of talks a bit more about my life and all that. So yeah, I won't go too much into that for this video since that'll be covered in the next video anyways. But real-time video, it's very long. It's been taking up space on my phone for like so many years. And finally, I have a computer so I can actually edit videos again. So I'm back. I'm really happy with how this painting turned out. I feel like I'm really hard on myself when it comes to paintings, because I mean, shoot, there's so much that you can compare yourself to when you're on the internet, unfortunately. But I just really am satisfied with this outcome of this painting. She's exactly what I wanted, I guess, when it comes down to it. Colors I saw immediately in my head when looking at the sketch. After going through it, sketching it over 6 to 8 times, I got what I wanted. And yeah, she's just really cute. She makes me happy. I'm gonna be making prints of this for this month's Patreon exclusive reward. So each month, my lovely patrons get to vote in what concept they would like for that month. And whatever concept ends up getting the highest votes, I make into a sketch and then I paint it. And that painting gets made into a limited run of prints for that month only. After that month is over, those prints are no longer available. So it's kind of a fun little exclusive thing that's only made for my dear patrons. And this is one of those pieces. So we wanted a demon babe with bubbly colors, and I gave it to you. And I'm really happy that I actually ended up recording this because it's such a hassle to record paintings. It's very frustrating at times because you have to set a certain way to be able to paint, and then the paper is warped because you're looking at it from an angle, so you can't see if things are actually accurate in terms of the sketch all the way to the painting and all that. So it's kind of frustrating, but I did it and it turned out nice. It's been a long time since the last time I posted on YouTube in terms of painting, so it's really nice to have something fresh, something new up on this channel. But yeah, I'm just really happy that she turned out so well. So at the time that I post this, it is, or what I'm working on right now is September 25th. So this painting pretty much expires this Friday, the 30th, September 30th, and then she is no longer available. So if you are interested in having a 4x6 mini print of this girl, or even glitter stickers, which I am so in love with, you can head on over to my Patreon and pledge to the $10 mini print here, or the $16 mini print and sticker club, and you will have the ability to get a little fun package in your mail of this girl just in time for the spooky holiday. So I got everything going to where she will be arriving October, very early for everyone. I'm like grinding away at everything just so I can get this all moved on. And I've been playing quite a bit of catch up because what month is this? This is September. August, I ended up getting COVID from Beebs' brother. He came to visit us and gave us all COVID, unfortunately. And it was a very mild case, but it still knocked me out, and I ended up getting tremors from it. So I wasn't able to do anything for like the whole month of August. It was honestly really, really hard month for me. I suffered like financially on top of that because I wasn't able to do anything. I was just bedridden. So it was hard, and the tremors are finally gone for the most part. Sometimes they come back if I'm straining my hand too much, but it was just so bad that like I couldn't even walk for like the whole month. I was just kind of stuck in bed, and we would go on very short walks and I would feel like I was gonna collapse. So I got nothing done, and in turn I got late on everything. So I've been playing catch up, and I'm honestly really proud of how much I managed to get done for the month of September, when I had just a backload of everything piled up. I had a group show that I was going to do, but I wasn't able to get the painting completed in time because I just wasn't feeling good at all. So that was a bummer for the most part. I think that was really the only downfall of it all, was not being able to participate in that. And I was really looking forward to that. For, I think it was like a month that they announced it, and then I ended up getting COVID, so I couldn't work on anything until like mid-September was when I started to kind of pick things up and get back on track and whatnot. But yeah, I'm glad that's over with. That was a really crappy experience that I never want to have to deal with again. And now I'm like paranoid of essentially everyone around me. I do not want human interaction ever again. Anyways, enough of the silly downer talk. So at this point, I have established the hair, the outfit, and all that. Since her face is so small, I felt like it was very pointless painting it in. I normally use a 00 calligraphy brush to do the line work, but it just wasn't worth it for this piece. I didn't want to mess it up and have to redo her face over again. So one of my other techniques or solutions I like to do when I'm working with very small detail is I use the Colorase colored pencil in the color Tuscan Red, and I feel like it's a very, very nice color that sort of mimics my line work when I paint it. It's very soft, it's not harsh at all. That was something that I was on the hunt for many years when I was working with watercolor, was finding the best method for dealing with line work with my work. I went from ink, I've tried just using pencil, painting it is always the best just because the line work is very consistent with the textures of the painting itself. But I also found the Colorase colored pencil in Tuscan Red, no other color, just Tuscan Red, actually mimics the paintbrush best. So that's kind of like my little cheat when the faces are really, really small and I can't get enough detail in with the line work, like eyelashes and like the mouth and the nose and all that are just really, really difficult to paint sometimes when they're really small. So yeah, Tuscan Red, Colorase color pencil, that's where it's at. Just going through and reworking her eyes a bit more so she looks more lively. Oh my goodness, I am a sucker for fangs. I don't ever get to add fangs to my characters just because it just doesn't look good. But for this one, I was like, no, she has to have fangs because she's like a demon girl, you know? She has to have fangs. And I also love her elf ears. I've been doing a lot of elf ears lately. It's just kind of fun. Previously, I was doing really big ears, and that seemed to bother a lot of people for some reason. Like just big regular ears. So I moved to elf ears. I think those are more socially acceptable, I guess. So just reworking the hair some more. I normally do very colorful hair. I don't like natural hair colors at all. They're just so boring to me. Nothing against it, but they're just boring. I love doing different color hair. But for this girl, I just felt like originally when I was doing blue, it was leaning too hard to Hatsune Miku, and I didn't really want to make it her. So I thought brown would be perfect because it's very complementary to the orange and purple colors. And with the brown, I usually add in a whole array of other colors into it for like the shadows and highlights. So I figured purple would be great to add into it, though I kind of washed out most of it. And then pink looks really, really nice on that for the shine as well. And one of my favorite things when it comes to hair is adding the little wispy hairs, because It adds a bit more life to the piece and it feels just a little bit more realistic because no one has just like completely slick hair. You know what I mean? Like there's little wispies. So I'm going through and brushing in a darker tone of brown for the hair, just to add a bit more dimension into it. I love doing the line work for hair. I usually go through, if it's too intense, I'll just take a little bit of water and just drop it in the area and kind of blend it a little bit so the line work isn't harsh but it's still there. That helps a lot. I'm working on her horns. Horns have been a huge thing around my work as well, but I've been trying to move away from it a bit more because there's just people grumpy about horns and they think that certain individuals own them and you can't use horns in your pieces. A lot of drama within the art community. But that's a whole other story. So I changed it up and did these really interesting horns. Instead of the little nubs that I do on the forehead, I thought it'd be cute to do like really long dragony horns for her. And I did a pink and purple gradient, which is really fun. Just making it a bit different than just a flat horn like I originally was planning on it. The hair overall looks great. I really like it. It's fun. For brown hair too. I that was on a whim. I wasn't expecting brown hair. I was gonna do blue. Now I'm working on the ariman. He's so cute. Look at his eye. I love him so much. I'm so excited to make him into an actual wand. I've been thinking about it a lot. Is it gonna be flat? Should I make him round? I don't know yet, but I love him. Like, I feel like if this was an actual anime, he would probably talk. He'd probably be like the annoying sidekick to her who like makes really obnoxious comments about everything, and she's always getting irritable with him. I love those kind of sidekicks though. And he has a really like scratchy deep voice. I did a light purple for his wings, but the yellow layer that I did was still wet when working on it, and so it ended up mixing to this pink, and I ended up liking that, so I just stuck with it. Here I went through and did some line work in a darker yellow. It ended up not looking right, so I just went in and retouched up areas. But I did do parts in where his wings are to add a little bit more dimension, and that looked nice. Oh, and his mouth was a bit wonky too after I laid down the neon pink, because like it was too small to paint all the little sharp teeth in, so yeah. Here I am adding the face to the jack-o'-lantern. I love painting pumpkins. They're so fun. I was just thinking of painting pumpkins for the Patreon postcards again this year. I think I did that last year and the year before, so I'm not sure if anyone would be really annoyed with that, given that they, if they've been with me long enough, might accidentally have like 3 jack-o'-lanterns on hand. But I love it. It's so cute. Though last year I did more round eyes, this year I did more pointy. Still good. Still good. I feel like I could have done more with the eyes though, like maybe made the darker part as dark as I could get, because the purple that I used is just a bit too light where it feels kind of off. But at the same time, the eyes do match the color of the outfit that she's wearing. So if she is inside of the pumpkin, it might just be a really long dress that's covering his face. I don't know. I'm making all sorts of random conclusions or whatever. So cute. Maybe I'm annoying because I like my paintings. So after everything is pretty much laid out color-wise, I went through with the Cold Erase color pencil in Tuscan Red, and I used that to pretty much line her completely, just because I wanted everything to be cohesive. So if you do half painted lines, half colored pencil lines, it's very distinct in the differences and it ends up looking kind of awkward. So the best thing is you gotta paint all of everything in terms of line work, or you draw all of the line work. You can't have a mixture of both. At least, I mean, you can if you want. I'm not telling you what to do. But in what I've learned so far, this is what works best for me. When I do color pencil line work, it definitely adds more of a cartoony feel to the character than when I just paint the line work in. So it's kind of fun. All these paintings I've worked on, every single one, I end up going, man, this would be so cool in a cartoon. I want to animate her. And I did this with several other previous paintings. These past couple of months have just been like back-to-back really cute concepts that would be adorable in a cartoon. I just need to get in with studying animation again and staying consistent with it so that I can actually get somewhere with it. It's not for jobs or anything like that. It's just for my own personal pleasure of seeing my characters being able to move. It's been a big goal of mine. One day, maybe. Now I'm just going through and adding some more line work within her hair. Just establishing it and making it move forward a bit more within the painting. I was so torn with these demon wings, whether I wanted to add full detail or just have them flat. And I ended up leaving them flat just because they looked good as is. But I think it would have been really cute to do a pink tone within the wings. Similar to the Ariman wand. I think that would be really cute. But I ended up doing like a pink gradient similar to the horns on her wings, just to do a little bit more than having it just completely flat, and it looks nice. It's not bad, but I definitely feel like next time it would be nice to do a whole actual wing. I really like how the bottom part of the pumpkin looks. Like he's just glowy and he's sitting on grass, and it's really nice overall. Gotta add my signature stars in there, because that's what I do with all my paintings. Oh, and I didn't want to forget, she had these little pigtail scrunchies, and originally they were going to be bats, but I thought they would be really cute if I made like tiny ariman bat hair tie things. They don't really look all that great. They kind of look like something from Among Us, but I'm not going to think too much into it because they're so tiny anyways. It's silly to get caught up in little hair pieces, but I should have just left them purple instead of trying to make them like the ariman. Here I'm doing a very dry brush of yellow on the jack-o'-lantern to add a nice little highlight to him. And I'm doing the shadow of where she and the pumpkin meet. I did a neon pink, and then I'm going to be adding a blue in there just to kind of make her also glow on it. It's like kind of like a, not a wet pumpkin, but it has a bit of like a highlight to it. And this is just dark blue at the very bottom of the pumpkin, just so it looks like he's like, you know, sitting on it. I ended up getting too obsessed with the ariman eye, so I keep messing with it. Eventually it ends up looking good, but yeah, just kept tinkering with little things. And then here, the last part of this, I add a white gel pen around the border of the subject, and it really makes the character pop. I love doing this. Only downfall is the gel pen kind of is difficult to work with. You'll have to be like really light with it in order for it to roll. I've had like the worst luck with gel pens for some reason, but I just love adding a little fine white border around the character. It just brings them out from the painting so much more. And it's also kind of nice because I use that as like a border for when I cut stickers. So it's all around goodness, you know? Then I go through and add some highlights on random things. Very, very faint highlights. Echo just barged in. And now she's leaving with my door open. Ah, jeez. Yeah, I'm fixing up that yellow border that I originally put on. It just didn't look right. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this whole video. I hope you enjoyed it. It was really, really long. I wasn't expecting it to be 51 minutes long, but I figured, hey, why not just do it this way? With that said, this piece is only available for this week. She will be disappearing come October 1st If you are interested in having mini prints and stickers of her, feel free to head over to my Patreon and pledge to those specific tiers, and I will be sending her out super fast as soon as the stickers arrive. Supposedly estimated is October 3rd, but they are coming from Sweden, so who knows how long that's gonna actually take. But yeah, I hope you all have a lovely day, and if you've made it this far, congratulations. Put an apple emoji in the comment section so I can see how many people actually watched it for this length of time. Yeah, I hope you guys stay safe and stay hydrated, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye!